Strength Warehouse presents Go Heavy or Go Home podcast. I am your host, Nate Boley. In this podcast, we talk about strength, fitness, nutrition, and all things Strength Warehouse related. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This morning, I have one of our members, Matt Allen, here. And we're just going to kind of go into his journey in strength training and his sport that he does, which is road bike racing. And I'm just going to welcome him and let him go. So, Matt, welcome to the podcast, and just give us a little brief about who you are.
Great. Thanks, Nate. Happy to be out here and excited to share a little bit about my journey. My name's Matt Allen, and I'm 41. Lived in Bend for a couple years now, moved in 2020. Been a member of Strength Warehouse since September, so about 7 months now ish. And my passion is road bike racing. Been doing it for going on a little over 20 years now.
That's awesome.
My job outside of cycling is my day job is data scientist. I've been in the software world for most of my career. And
pretty cool. That probably goes hand in hand with like all the data stuff that you can find from road racing, right?
Absolutely. That's actually how I got into software. I went to work for a small startup that was doing analytics for some of the connected devices. They were really early.
Like for fitness type stuff?
For connected devices for cycling, endurance sports, cool. A company called Training Peaks. Mm-hmm. They actually own Train Heroic, which is an app that a lot of the members here use. I use it as well. Yeah. So, I got started in the data side of sports. So,
awesome.
I don't know. Yeah, people who know me understand that connection. I'm kind of an engineer-minded person.
For sure. It's funny because I was a mechanic, so I'm kind of in the engineering mindset, but then when I'm like looking at stuff and I'm like, how did you guys, like engineers, how did you make this? And you didn't have us, like the part of it needs to be fixed in mind at all.
Yeah.
They have their own like, automotive stuff. They have their own things they have to abide by, right? It's like cost and will it make it out of warranty?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when did you decide to incorporate strength training into your life just to better yourself and your sport?
Yeah, so I've dabbled in strength training over the years, but it's sort of come in and out. And I played high school football, played 2 years in college, and did a lot of strength training then. But I look back on that now and just see how misguided we were, and the coaching was just not there in terms of what we see today. And so I wish I knew half of what I know just from the last 6 months back then. But eventually got into the cycling world, and cycling in the last 20 years has been very scientific based, but there's still some old school mentalities to it. And I did some strength work and gym work through over the years, but it kind of came and went, and it was never a year-round thing.
Sure.
Since the pandemic, I turned 40, and I started. Things weren't recovering the same way as they were. Also, 20 years of being behind a desk, and being my main pursuit outside of work would be sitting on a bike, all hunched over. So everything is sitting down, hunched over, so closed off. So I've got a lot of just compounding movement dysfunction to unwind, and that kind of all caught up with me, and I finally sort of bit the bullet and decided to address that, because I wasn't feeling as good when I woke up in the morning, and I wasn't moving as well, and just kind of had this ongoing sort of beat up feel, and
I totally
wanted
that for sure.
to take care of that. So
see if you could address it at all.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you come to Strength Warehouse first, or were you somewhere else first?
I came here first.
You came here first?
My wife came here first before me. Yeah. She was here. She started like the month before me. She was having a really good experience, and thought that you guys might be able to help me. And I was a little cautious at first because I didn't know how your methodology and programming would integrate with how I train for my sport.
Sure.
And so I was quite hesitant, but she kind of talked me into it to at least give it a try. And I, within the first onboarding experience, I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, this is going to work for me.
That's awesome.
I just have to trust the process.
Sure. Yeah.
So
that's the big thing when people come to us, because we do it slightly different than a lot of people. And I'm like, look, you got to give it a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be with any coach you're going to work with. Like
Absolutely.
if they are at a high level, it takes a little bit of breaking down that mindset that you have.
Absolutely.
And just letting somebody else kind of take the reins for a while, which can be very difficult, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Like, I don't want to go backwards at all, but sometimes you have to just, I had that in my experience. I was pretty high level power lifter, made, pretty well for myself. And then I had to, I hired a coach, and I'm very hard headed when I want to know what's going on.
Yep.
And I just was like, fine, just do it, just take it. And I let it, it's been 2 years now, and I've gotten some really amazing results. So I totally get that. That's awesome. Let's see. What has been the biggest value add to you as an individual and your sports career by coming here?
Yeah, well, we could have a whole podcast on this, but I'll try and keep it short.
Okay.
I'm seeing back to the kind of beginning of I track a lot with my sport at a very minute level, the data around it. We have connected power meters on our bikes that measure second by second wattage. I have all kinds of metrics to use, and I've been tracking that for 20 years. So I can look and measure the difference this season compared to seasons past, and I'm hitting power numbers that I haven't seen in 15 years.
Wow.
I'm hitting stuff that I'm actually hitting some personal best numbers, even when
After 20 years?
After 20 years.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So I know it's working.
Yeah.
And besides that, that's the just pure science data objective side of it. The subjective side is the thing that really has made me just addicted to coming back to the gym, because I wake up feeling good in the morning.
Sure.
And I'm sleeping better, and I'm leaner than I've been in a long time. Sure. There's all these things that it's just sort of like empirical evidence of, this is, I need to keep doing this.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great, man. That's great. So, a lot of times these endurance sports, people I don't want to get bulky because then it slows you down. But if you're leaner and you're more powerful, and there's always like a what's the word I'm thinking of, or the term, but like a diminished return.
Absolutely.
So if you're 300 pounds of muscle, it's not going to be ideal for you on a bike. But if you're optimizing, you're a little bit heavier than you like to be, you're going to be better off, right?
And this comes back to what I was saying earlier with it's come in and out of my program, over the years, is there's this old school mentality of stopping weight training once season starts. And you want to focus your time and energy on the bike training, but you lose the strength you've built all winter when you do that. Mm-hmm. But there's also this mindset of not wanting to bulk up, so you only do a little bit of strength training to correct some movement patterns, but not enough to really put on muscle. And what I've found is that the science doesn't really back that up. If you look at really what's out there in the research, is that's not true, and it takes a lot to put on a lot of muscle.
Absolutely.
And it's a huge effort. And so it's a really misguided fear. And even if you put on 5 pounds, it's going to be functional weight in muscle that's going to help you be faster. I'm 5 pounds heavier than I raced at last year, and I'm climbing better than I ever have.
That's awesome.
So I'm leaner, I weigh more, but I'm going uphill better.
Yep. I tell this to people all the time, I don't want to bulk up. I'm like, please, if you do, let me know the secret, because I've been trying to do that for years. And I've done a pretty good job of that, but it's a very, very focused effort to get hypertrophy. And then, and a lot of what we do here is like a hybrid. We do strength first, and then we want some hypertrophy as well, because hypertrophy is good, but you don't want to completely focus on that unless you're going for that, aesthetic look.
One of the main benefits that I've been with this program is connecting with 2 different coaches in the morning classes with Mike and JR, and really having a collaborative relationship with them. I can come in with particular things that I'm feeling, or sort of a hypothesis of something, and I can bounce ideas off of them, and they give me their perspective on it. All different tweaks to the program in the supersets. I might put in a variation of something that's on the board instead of exactly what's on the board, because I know what my dysfunctions are, my corrective things are, what my goals are, and I can kind of own that and make those changes, but still stick to the methodology and the expertise that's in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
No, I think that's great. And you know a lot about your body, and not very many people have body awareness like that. So that's pretty awesome. You can do that, and then kind of use their knowledge to further what you're exactly looking to do. Yeah, that's awesome, man. We kind of touched on this a little bit. You said a while ago riders were only lifting preseason and would stop.
Yeah.
And I know that, so we went through our 90-day goal review, and you're like, hey, my season's coming up. And I was like, okay, let's dial back a little bit and like not hit a max effort lift or whatever. But what has been your experience in, I guess this is the first year that you're going to go all year, right? Yeah. Okay.
So that was very much my mindset coming into this. And now that season has started, I've been shocked, but I've been proven wrong. Yeah. Like I can't see dialing back. Sure. Now my mindset, I'm still coming in 3 days a week unless I'm out of town traveling for races, but I'm still coming in 3 days a week. I am tweaking the program a little bit depending on things. Like, for example, I had a race this weekend over in Eugene on Sunday, so Friday was deadlifts. So I changed up the program just a little bit, knowing that I was racing in 2 days. But I went to the trap bar instead of the conventional deadlift, just to start from a little higher position, and then I still lifted fairly heavy, but I dialed back the sets a little bit and the reps a little bit. Sure. And that's been one of the main things of really feeling the benefit of the potentiation effect of getting the brain and muscle connected. Absolutely. And having that benefit like right before competition. That's actually some of my best power numbers have come the day of or the day after a heavy lift. Really? Okay. That's awesome. And as long as it's not, I'm used to that weight and it's not a movement I'm that's foreign to me, like I've been doing it regularly, then I don't get that, the delayed onset muscle soreness, the DOMS, the like I can't get off the chair kind of thing. But the brain and muscle are like just online. They're ready to fire from that heavy movement, and so I like that's a big benefit. No, it's awesome. And that's one thing I like to tell everybody is like, hey, if you're going to have a race or some kind of an event like a couple days before, like don't kill yourself. Yeah, because this is not. Depending on what your goals are. So my goals are like, I want to be super, super strong and like get, powerlifting numbers. But at the same time, if I have an event next weekend, I'm not going max effort lifting before I go into my competition. And so just having that knowledge and like kind of foresight to know what you're going to be doing. But actually in the past, so for me, powerlifting, we used to do max effort lifts week before competition and then do nothing until competition. And then recent years, the studies being like, no, that's not really the way to do it. And so now we do a taper, basically. So it's like you do opener lifts, and then you kind of taper down to the meet. And, I mean, people's numbers are just going through the roof. And you're feeling way better. I remember, like, not hitting anything for a week. Excuse me. And getting under the bar and be like, this feels completely foreign, completely terrible. And then you're in your head. And so you're just like, oh, this is not good. So that's awesome to see that it's kind of translating to different sports as well. Absolutely. And I could only see why that would happen, right? That's awesome. Where do you see strength training and the sport going in the future for like as a whole? So in the side of the sport of competitive cycling, road cycling in particular, I see more and more strength training coming in, and more of the research into sort of aging athletes is pointing towards the importance of strength training. Absolutely. And reading a book right now by Steven Kotler called NAR Country, GNAR. And it's awesome. He's a neurologist researcher who's studied his whole career on the sort of science of flow, sort of the
flow state.
Flow state.
Okay, awesome.
He has a number of books on that, and he's talking about how like our perception of diminished athletic performance as we age is completely misguided. Sure. But a lot of it comes back to use it or lose it. And so we have to set ourselves up for a successful, later years.
Yeah,
and so as we get into even as early as our 20s, we can start doing things to set ourselves up for a long life of athletic performance.
Man, I wish you could get into the minds of 20-year-olds and show them this, because it's
exactly.
Dude, when I was 20, that would have been like, nope, see you later.
And so, strength training is a big piece of that. And this study after study after study is coming out to say how beneficial strength training is to essentially the antidote to our modern lifestyle of sitting still and being in front of screens and all these things.
It's becoming so much more important, so much more valuable, because we spend a majority of our day doing nothing. Sedentary, so we have to subsidize that in some way.
And not just move, but move in particular ways that allow us to have joint health and bone health, hormonal health, all these things, not just being able to pick up a heavy weight, right? It's not just the muscle strength. It's all the compounding pieces that come with that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
You definitely are the person to talk to about this, for sure. You've done your research.
Yeah.
I really like it. Cool. What would you tell somebody that was kind of on the fence or thinking about starting a strength training routine but just hasn't gotten, even potentially like some of the people that are in your group of racers?
Yeah.
If they were talking to you about it and they're like, I don't know what would be like your key selling point on that?
I mean, we've already kind of talked about it a little bit, but you're going to get faster is one of the things. Is let go of the kind of maybe your preconceived notions about what weightlifting is, what powerlifting is, and treat it as the best way to move better.
Sure.
And I would say also is just give it a try. Come in here, do the intro session. It's going to be worth your time and money, I promise.
Absolutely.
And really give it some time. The other thing I would say is really come in with a growth mindset and a beginner mindset on it, and don't be frustrated when you can't pick up the weight or you can't do something. That for me was a challenge at first. I came to this with sort of being used to being good at things because my main sport is something I've done for so long, and that's really where I spend all my time. So coming into here and going through things for the first time and not being able to pick up weights in the way that I used to be able to when I played football, even if that was really bad technique back then. But that was a little bit of a struggle, and I kind of had to do some deep thinking on that. And the thing that finally clicked for me was to say, well, why am I being so frustrated by this? And it was because I was looking at it from a very binary state of success. Either I could lift it or not. And if I can't lift it, then that's failure. And if I'm experiencing failure, then I'm not getting a dopamine response. So I'm not feeling good about it. So then why would I want to keep coming back? And really, as soon as I said, okay, well, what can I learn from this situation? Then it becomes very much about, well, success isn't can I lift the weight? It's, well, I figured out what I need to work on, and now I have something to work on, and I can fix it, and I can get better. Well, just learning that becomes a success. I get that dopamine response.
100%.
I leave here saying, okay, awesome. I know what to do to get better. That's a good thing. And so now 90% of the time I'm in here, it's either I learned something new, I worked on something I need to work on, or I actually had a breakthrough.
Or had a PR.
All of those things are success.
Absolutely.
And I leave here feeling good about it. And the only times I don't is because I was just off mentally that day. I didn't sleep well. Something was just off. And it's like a fraction of the time.
And that you have to expect a little bit of downtime. You can't always have wins all the time, but you can look at things in a win. Maybe maybe it was a really bad PR day and I didn't get what I wanted, but I learned something, or I still put in effort, which are all wins. And if you look at it like I just didn't get the weight, like you said, now you're looking at it as a negative light. And you start to kind of have that negative cognition and all that type of stuff that's gonna not be beneficial to you at all. So just asking questions with the coaches, just really focusing on moving better, not lifting heavier weight. The weight will come, and
absolutely. I know a number of people mentioned that when I was first coming here to the Strength Warehouse, and number of people here. And the first few sessions, I was frustrated.
Yeah.
It was probably evident. And, I didn't internalize that at first. And so that would definitely be something I would recommend to people just coming in is just be kind to yourself. Don't be frustrated. Just focus on moving better, and you'll start peeling back the layers of the onion, and the weight will come. You'll be able to get stronger, but you have to move better first.
100%. Yeah, and I think in today's society where everything's instantaneous, when somebody sees somebody else doing something, they're like, and I really project this a lot. Like, don't worry about what they're doing, weight wise or whatever. Just focus on what you're doing, because that puts you in the again that scarcity mindset. The grass is always greener. Instead of just being like, hey, I've learned something. I'm moving better. I'm focusing on this. I will get better over time as long as I stick with it. And that's just you really have to kind of have that. I like that, the beginner's mindset in everything. I've had to learn that as well, because I used to come. I was in the automotive field for almost 17 years, and I've had every single certification under the sun. I've done all the training programs. I can fix any car out there that I have no problems fixing them. Come here and I'm like, I can't figure out Facebook ads. You know what I mean? Like the simplest thing, or I can't figure out how to do this or whatever. Just having that, like, okay, I'm just going to put in the work and just do what's necessary to, make it work. And if I never ever fail unless I give up.
Absolutely.
And that's that's the thing you got to really think about. Yeah, man. So when's your next race?
2 weeks.
Okay.
And then that'll be over in Portland. Okay. Most of the local racing in Oregon is over on that side of the mountains, so we got to drive a little bit for it. Okay. But my big race for the first half of the season will be in Wisconsin in 3 weeks. Cool. And that'll be an 11-day event, so it'll be gone for a while. That's awesome. So really looking forward to that. 11 days of riding? 11 days of criteriums. It's one of the bigger crit festivals in the country, so really excited about that.
Do you ship all your bike and all that stuff?
We'll fly with all that. Cool. And I race for Stages Cycling team, which is Stages Cycling is a power meter and indoor bike manufacturer, so I race for their factory team. So we have half the guys live in Colorado, where they're based. That's where I used to live. And then we have a few in Oregon as well. So we all will fly out there for that, meet out there, and do those races. That's part of a national point series. So
where do you usually stand in that point series at the end of the season?
We're doing really well right now. So cycling is a kind of weird dynamic of a team sport, but an individual wins.
Got it. Okay.
So it's highly team dynamic, highly tactical. Okay. So we have some guys placed well in the point standings right now. Okay. We had a big race for this point series in Sacramento a few weeks ago, and we did really well. Awesome. So
there's multiple guys on your team all racing at the same time.
Yes.
And they can help set each other up to get into different.
So
positions.
it's kind of like NASCAR. Drafting is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And so you're using each other to everybody kind of has a role, almost like a position on the football field.
That's great.
And there's a lot of pattern recognition and seeing things and having to respond to them. Yeah. So we talk some in the race, but a lot of it is just knowing who's got what role and what's happening and kind of reacting.
Do you guys train together at all?
We do.
Okay. Cool.
So one of my good friends is also a teammate. We've raced together for long time, and he also lives here in Bend, so cool. I train with him a lot.
Awesome. So. But as a team whole, you guys don't always train together. It's like pairs.
We did a training camp down in Arizona at the end of February, but only about half the guys were able to make it. Everybody's got day jobs. We're just
absolutely
we're pretend professionals. We don't actually make any money at this. This is just old guy bike racing. That is but it is our main passion, and we spend a lot of time and energy on it.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
And then I was lucky enough to be able to take a vacation to Spain in March, and a number of us went all together, rented a big villa, and all our spouses ride too. So it was there was 8 of us, and we did like 2 weeks of hard training in Spain. So
that's really cool.
We do train together, but it's sort of like these trips that we go do.
Sure. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys talk and stuff like that on the off time, and hey, this is what we're doing or whatever.
Absolutely.
So when you get on the track it's kind of like a well-oiled machine, and everybody kind of knows what's going on.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, that's really cool, man.
Yep. We actually use we connect little GoPros to our bikes for races and record it, so it's like game film.
Sure.
So we can go back and watch those and talk strategy. And
You guys,
tactics.
in the wintertime, you guys have like virtual stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
awesome.
So we do indoor riding. That's through a platform called Zwift, which is it's almost like turns your indoor bike into a video game.
That's awesome.
And there's actually world championships for that.
Really?
There's a whole, it's part of the UCI, which is like under the Olympic umbrella.
Okay.
So it's the governing body for the sport inside of the Olympic umbrella.
Interesting.
And so there is esports racing that's part of the UCI. So we do an amateur league of that in the winter. That's a lot of fun. It's sort of like, I don't know, indoor bike racing beer league. Like, I mean, it's really hard, and you're sort of riding your face off. But it's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah.
And we'll be on video calls while we're doing that, so it's very much a social thing.
Oh yeah, totally. You can see each other's like faces and stuff.
Yeah. So we'll get on Discord and have a video call going while we're doing that. So we'll do like an hour warm up together where we're all kind of BSing and making up our excuses and all that kind of stuff, and then we'll do the race. And so that's every Tuesday night through the winter.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll have to have you sit down with our coaches and us and make some type of because road all biking is super huge in Bend, and figure out some kind of like program specifically designed for like some bike guys.
Absolutely.
That'd be really cool.
Absolutely.
I really enjoy that.
And I've actually been a professional coach for cycling for the last 16 years.
Awesome.
It's been a side gig for me all that time, but I do have experience with that.
Sure.
And so I'd be happy to.
Okay, let's do that. Let's get together and chat about how that would work.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, our time's up here. Is there anything else you'd like to kind of shout out there? What was that your team, they have social media presence?
They do, yeah. Stages Cycling. You can find them across all the platforms.
I'll tag them in the post and that type of stuff. But I really appreciate you, man. I think it's awesome what you're doing here, and I'd love to have you on again after maybe the season and see how it all went.
Absolutely.
All right, man,
absolutely.
Cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys coming in today and listening to us and following us as usual, and we'll catch you on the other side. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey of strength. If you liked this episode, please leave us a review and share with a friend. To stay connected, hit that subscribe button. All right, until next time, go heavy or go home.